According to the Kantar Brand Z ranking, Zara was once again the most valuable Spanish brand in 2022. The index, which examines the top 30 in each nation, is created based on the market capitalization of the firms and the value that consumers place on them. The firm estimates that Zara is worth $23,355 million. The biggest, most well-known, and most prosperous firm in Spain is Zara. It has succeeded in growing quickly from a modest Spanish firm to the greatest textile group in the world with locations on the world's most fashionable streets. The original Zara store was founded by businessman Amancio Ortega many years ago, which is where Inditex got its start. Ortega was first exposed to the fashion world when he was quite young. In La Coruña, a small city in northern Spain, he had already started working as a delivery boy when he was just 14 years old. The young Ortega was excellent at his job, and as he grew older, he began to relate to the store's customers and salespeople. In 1960, he was promoted to manager. Ortega created his own designs at his sister's house while he was not working. Using the cheaper materials that were still available in the store, he attempted to duplicate known designs, but included his own changes and improvements. Ortega regularly created lingerie and nightgowns, which he subsequently offered for sale in the store. By 1963, he felt confident enough to quit his manager job and start his own company. With only $25 in startup funding, Ortega started Confecciones Go while operating out of his home. As soon as he convinced his wife, brother, and sister to join the business, Ortega was supplying stores throughout the city. The initial store offered modestly priced items that resembled those of well-known high-end designers. Although Ortega expanded to serve all of Spain in the 1960s, it remained a supplier to retail stores without having its own brand. But at the time, Francisco Franco, the nationalist general who had seized power during the Spanish Civil War, still ruled Spain as a dictatorship. In 1975, the dictator Francisco passed away, and with him, authoritarian Spain. The sweeping social and economic changes that took place in Spain throughout the 1970s gave new life to the country. And Ortega wanted to seize the opportunity. A few months after Franco's death, he started his first business in La Coruña. In honor of his favorite movie, Zorba the Greek, Ortega decided to call his business Zorba. When he discovered that there was a sizable bar with the same name a few streets away, he had already purchased the lettering forms for the store. Ortega chose the name Zara for his business establishment after deciding to use the lettering patterns he had previously acquired. Even today, most clothing stores follow a seasonal business model with large production runs and offer deep discounts at the end of each season on items that do not sell. However, Amancio Ortega reviewed the entire textile manufacturing chain, including the design, manufacturing, and distribution processes to shorten lead times and be better equipped to respond to new trends. This enabled them to bring new designs to market in as little as 2 weeks. The corporation achieves a number of things as a result of the shorter supply times, including a reduction in inventory holdings and in-store warehousing space. And less inventory means less money tied up. By the way, the collections at Zara do not last for months. The firm's clothes are replaced quite often, every 15 days on average. Therefore, if a certain type of t-shirt is not doing well, it is removed from the shelves. The consumer is aware that he won't find many people with the same thing if it sells well. So when something is successful and generates a lot of sales, the company doesn't really update the product, but its designers and creatives recycle the model, keeping the key elements and changing some minor ones. In other words, they adopt the style but never imitate it. As a result, most of the items we see every time we visit one of the company's stores are new. This encourages customers to return regularly, as they know they will discover new ideas each time. All these logistics are controlled by a kind of brain and operations room that the company has at its headquarters in Arteixo, Galicia. All of the group's stores' real-time activity is regulated, evaluated, and watched in this room. Although a large portion of clothing is produced in nations like Bangladesh, Brazil, and Morocco, nearly everything is routed via Spain before being distributed to retailers. Think of a Zara store in China as an example. Given the proximity, it may seem obvious to us that the clothing made in Bangladesh would go straight to China. However, it is taken to Spain before being transferred back to Asia. It certainly looks illogical, but there is an answer, of course. The objective of the company is to come as near as possible to the consumer's buying preferences because not all retailers sell the same things. The business may therefore regulate sales volume, preferred clothing types, color preferences, size preferences, etc. from this operating room. Zara's business strategy, commonly referred to as fast fashion, was a great success and revolutionized the apparel sector. Over the next 10 years, Ortega grew throughout Spain and built a 10,000 square meter logistics facility. In 1985, he created a holding company for his stores called Industria de Diseño Textil or Inditex as part of his preparations to go global. In 1988, the first Zara store outside the United States opened in Porto, Portugal as a test. Expansion has been exponential since then. Almost every major city and metropolis in the world now has a Zara store. To grow Inditex's range beyond Zara, Ortega created an integrated brand portfolio that includes household names such as Zara, Pull & Bear, Bershka, Massimo Dutti, Stradivarius, Oysho, and Zara Home. They developed the unique fashion accessory brand in 2008, surpassing well-known brands H&M and Gap to take the top spot among clothes retailers worldwide. In 2010, they opened store number 5,000 in Rome. Currently, Inditex has more than 7,300 stores throughout the globe, and oddly enough, its two largest markets after Spain are China and Russia. Amancio Ortega became the richest man in the world in 2015, according to Forbes, as a result of this fast development. Inditex also acts as a job-creating machine. More than 160,000 people work for this firm alone globally now. With a wealth estimated at roughly $59.6 billion, the Spanish billionaire dropped to position 23 on Forbes magazine's list of the world's richest people in 2022. However, this conglomerate has continued to rule the fashion market even after he formally retired from his business Inditex. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.